What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I have a saying about myself. I'm either a day late or a dollar short. And if you're like me, you already know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, that means I don't have the cash when a deal comes along, or I have the cash in my pocket and the deal happened the day before. But every once in a while, all of the planets will align, and I have gotten lucky. In fact, that's an understatement. So take a look at what I'm getting ready to show you. What you're looking at here are two vintage ProStock style Dominator carbs. These are circa 1970-71 vintage, based off of the casting numbers and the things that I have found. The interesting part about these carburetors is the story of the guy who sold them to me. I put a post on Facebook, carburetor forum, Holley carb trade buy sell. I put a picture of it in the video, and I asked people for a set of Dominators for Project Mixed Up Boss. This guy by the name of JB Wood, he's no relation to me, but I'm sure somewhere down the line we are. He sent me a message and said, I have what you need, and he showed me a picture of these two carbs. And needless to say, I was blown away. I was even more blown away by the story that he told me about these carbs. Now, if you look right here, you can see the word missile on a Holley carburetor box. What would one think if you seen that? Because no one would really write missile on a carburetor box unless you were part of the crew or Don Carlton of the Motown missile or Mopar missile, depending on which year. So the story goes like this. These carburetors originally are 4575 Dominators, which intended purpose was for NASCAR Boss 429s. But these are pretty special. You see they have tall boosters here, and you got 4-corner idle circuits. That means that these were actually used on independent runner setup on a tunnel ram. And that can be confirmed by this right here. This is the base plate gasket and little spacer. This is used. One thing that's unique about older Dominators is where the throttle linkage for these carburetors are for the secondaries. It's actually in between the butterflies, and that's exposed to your intake. So you have to run that plate to keep that linkage from vibrating apart and falling in your engine. Just so you know. Later carburetors, later Dominators actually have the traditional style linkage that comes off of the side here, this external. Okay. But you can see where this was used on an IR setup based off of the carbon witness marks of where the carburetor was bolted directly to the intake manifold itself with no plenum. So it's pretty phenomenal. Came with instructions, and yes, even has a warranty card. Now this box is correct. In fact, you can see the list number 4575 right there, and this one has a list number of 4673. But anyways, getting back to the story before I get, and you can see where it says IR front carb, just so you know. Back to the story. He told me that these carburetors were originally built by Holley carb rep for Don Carlton and the Motown missile, but they decided not to use them, or they just used them in testing. Either way, these carburetors have very little use, and the ways that you can tell if a Holley carb has much use, first telltale sign, looking at the float adjustment screw lock nut, these are perfect. There's no marring of them whatsoever. Same way with the bowl screws. I mean, they're perfect. Now you can tell that they have ran based off of the carbon tracking in the Venturi there. That's no big deal. But, you know, the carburetors were passed on from the Motown Missile to a guy who actually worked at a Chrysler dealership in the early 1970s. He had a 1970 Challenger or Cuda, I can't remember which one, and he wanted to do ProStock racing. It didn't come to pass, so what he did was these boxes set on a shelf, pretty much of a time capsule, until JB came along and bought a trailer load of 426 Hemi parts, and lo and behold, this was part of that deal. So JB and I, we got together on a price, and JB, thank you once again for entrusting me with these carburetors, because guys, he gave me a deal of the century on these carburetors. All you have to do is look on eBay and you can see just how much they go for. So John Wilburn told me something pretty cool on a text yesterday, and that is the fact that we are curators of a culture. Think about that for a second. And that's the kind of way that I view what I do, you know, trying to preserve this automotive history, because this is like automotive archaeology to me. My wife said if she would have had the GoPro going last night of me opening the box and seeing these things for the very first time, it would have been priceless. Said the video would have went viral. And I believe her, because I was like a 10-year-old kid on Christmas morning. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through these things top to bottom, clean everything out, and come dyno day, we're going to have a Dominator shootout. Yes, you heard that right. I don't think you've ever seen one on YouTube, but we're going to do old versus new Dominators, and you're going to see it here on Unity Motorsports Garage. So I just wanted to give you a little tour of these carburetors and talk about just how special they are. Now, whether this story is true or not, we don't know, but it's got prominence when it has the word missile on the box, because who would put that on there? Either way, they're extremely cool carbs, and I can't wait to see what they do on Project Mixed Up Boss. Now, I don't think that they're going to deliver the power that of the other carburetors that we're going to use, but that remains to be seen, because you never know about these things until you actually test them. We may be all surprised, but that's a video for another day. And until then, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. I will catch you later.